Coming up on eBEFOREi Video Reviews, we take a look at Transformers The Last Knight Voyager Class SCORN. This is SCORN right here, and let me tell you something, if you see SCORN in retail, pick him up. He's very, very good. Also, I'm turning this into an educational channel. We will compare a Spinosaurus to a Tyrannosaurus and see if the two Voyagers are in scale. I know it's geeky, but it's what we do here. Coming up next on eBEFOREi Video Reviews. So here's SCORN in his excellent dinosaur mode, and he really does look quite nice. I mean, we're going to take a look all the way around him, but as you can see, I mean, he's solid all the way around. He's kind of holding himself a little a la Michael Jackson right there with his hand, but what can you do about that? Hee-hee. Let's pretend like I never did that. But yeah, he's just overall a really impressive looking Dinobot. His face, his teeth, I mean, everything about this guy looks really, really nice. You can see that the amount of detail inside of the plastic molding and the way that that paint comes together, that spray painted silver, all throughout this figure really look amazing. The head is on a pin right there so he can look up and down. And you can also get some side posing out of him as well. So the top of his head, his eyeball is in there. He's got a blue eyeball. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but there's a little piece of blue right there. So yeah, I mean, the detail on this guy is really quite amazing. Now these, might turn some people off, his little spiky deals, because they're that, flimsy plastic, and there are some of you that have a problem with the flimsy plastic. Outside of these spines and the tail itself, there's not really any other rubbery bits on them, so you just gotta, if you're going to be okay with it, then be okay with it. It's your toy. You can like it or not like it. Here it is from the bottom. You can see what I mean. That's just clearly a hand. Now, it's not overtly noticeable. So if you've got this thing sitting in your collection on a shelf, no one's going to walk into your room and say, hey, why is his hand grabbing himself? Because you don't really notice it unless you're under high definition camera and lights like you're seeing right here. Honestly, you just don't notice it. The underneath view, again, this guy is just really solidly put together. Size comparison. So there's Deluxe Class SCORN, and right alongside his Voyager self, and he's significantly bigger in his Voyager form, as he should be. Now, comparing Voyager to Voyager, there's Grimlock, a T-Rex, who you'd think would be bigger than the Spinosaurus, but oh no, you're wrong! And let me get the educational part out of the way. Take a look at the actual scale of a Spinosaurus next to a T-Rex. So, forgiving my lights in the background there, but you can see that the Spinosaurus is much larger than the T-Rex. This is actual size comparisons right here. So, and actually, he's the same color as Grimlock. But if you look at that together, along with these guys together, I mean, it's about the same thing. So if you want to complain that Grimlock is out of scale with the Spinosaurus, just stop and become educated in dinosaurs. Actually, I had no idea until I looked it up a few minutes ago, but I'm pretending like I'm smart. Let's move on. So size comparisons out of the way. Let's go ahead and get him transformed. Now the transformation is kind of sort of a little bit tricky, but once you've done it a few times, I think you'll find that it works pretty well and it's not that bad. The first thing that you want to do is you want to start untabbing some things. So you can come around to this top part right here and you can pull these spines, just kind of get your finger in there and separate. You can see that they're in there on a tab. So we're going to get some separation there. Then we're going to come around to the legs and we're going to untab that peg right there, or that peg into that hole. Just untab it like that. Then you can come into his Grabby McGrab-a-lot arm and pull that kind of down, so you've got that there. Then you want to come in and you want to take this tail section and pull it down, all right? And then do the same thing with this head section. You want to kind of get this up and separated so that you can get this front part down like that. Now, with his legs pointed down, boy, does a bear got a big one. With his legs pointed down, all right, you want to make sure that the Autobot symbol is the right way, so you know which way to twist this, because you're going to twist this whole section right here so that the Autobot symbol faces up. That's the direction that you want it. Now, there are still some things that you need to do. Now, I'm not going to lie, this can be a little bit tricky, and I watched MGo's review, and the first time that I saw him do this, I'm like, how the heck, because mine won't do that. It actually will. So if you try to get some rotation on this, you see that it's not really moving. So you kind of have to get your whole hand in there and just, it's weighted to the point where it's almost like an automorphing transformation. If you pull on this the right way, that's going to start moving, and so you want to get that out of the groove and spun around to the other side so that you can match up that joint up on the top. You'd think there'd be a little bit more elegant way to do this, but there's really not, so I'm going to have to get some muscle into this. So watch what happens when I move this whole thing kind of up like that. I can get some movement, even though I'm not moving this part. That part stays steady, I can still move the inside. So that's how you get it tabbed into place, and it just made a little pop noise, so I know that I did it right. So that's the best way to do it. And it's really kind of hard to describe that in a video, so I hope that that made a lot more sense to you than some of the other reviews that just make it look like it's so simple to do. And but there is a method behind the madness, and so that's how you do it. We're going to do the same thing on this other side right here, and the same kind of thing applies, where I can keep that steady and move the joint. You just heard that kind of snap into place. So now I've got that ready to tab in. Now I'm going to pull this part back. This is the dinosaur bit, the whole back section. You want to make sure that you've got clearance. Then you're going to pull this whole thing back, and you're going to ultimately, while his legs are still not put together, because if you put the legs together right now, you're not going to have that gap down here, and you need that gap to slide this whole back unit down so you can get clearance to move the dinosaur head and tuck it in. So while we're in this position, I'm going to take the head, move it forward like that, then I'm going to take the dinosaur head, tuck it in, and then lift the whole thing back up. And I'm such a moron. I'm like, why isn't this going? Because I'm actually holding it with my fingers, so that's pretty stupid of me. But I'm going to lift that whole thing back up. So it's on a dual hinge. It's got a hinge and a hinge, and I'm going to hinge this whole thing down, and then it locks into place. So it should look like that. At that point, you can take these side pieces right here, and you can put them into the tab. So I'm just going to collapse that in and lock that backpack into place like that. So you've got a solid back section, and from here you can take the side and you can just kind of collapse that down so that it fits more compact. You can put it either direction. That just happens to be the way that I just did it. All right, now that I have, let's move that down. Now that I have this in place, I'm going to put that tab into that hole, or that tab into that hole. Man, I think I'd never put anything in a hole before. Hey-o! So anyway, that goes like that. Same thing on the other side. That's going to flip in like that. Now that I've got those locked in, I can come down here and finish the legs at this point. I can bring this down just like that and push these together. Now we need to finish the legs because he's got these dino legs still. So what you want to do is you want to take the heel and you want to move that heel up like that. Do the same thing on the other side, rinse and repeat. Now you're going to take this entire foot and turn it like that, all right? And now you've got that heel made his kneecap. So to finish the transformation, you want to take the kneecap and push that back up like that. Do the same thing over here. Flip this around, kneecap in place, then lock it. Now you've got his feet that are basically ready to go. And this robot's actually about done. I'm going to take these side pieces, the little fake jaw deal, and I'm just going to put that down. You can put it up or down, but put it down. Just like that. And we're really close. I'm going to put these dino arms up. I don't like the gorilla curl arm deal, so I'm going to move this whole thing. It does give you a little bit of hollowness there, so deal with it. I'm going to rotate the arm so I can, oops, that came unpegged. All right, so I've swiveled that. Now I'm going to bring this arm down, and I'm going to turn the tail So it's like that. Actually, I'm going to turn it like that so I can get a little bit of curve on it. And at this point, you're ready to stand him up, pose him up, and there's Scorn in his very excellent robot mode. This guy looks amazing. All the way around, he's so thick and chunky, which is really a good thing in my book. You do have these dinosaur feet that are kind of hanging out back here, but it doesn't really bother me. I'm going to keep going around the figure. Just so solidly put together, and the poses that you can get with this guy because of all the joints that you have on the figure really do make this guy look great. Let's get a closer look. So there's Scorn's face. Again, the silver spray paint up against the red really look quite incredible. Look great indeed. You've got the blue kind of Cylon eye. It almost kind of looks like a knight's face too, which fits really well with the Last Knight movie. But really a nice looking face sculpt. Awesome detail. You can see his abdomen. He's got abs, which is more than I can say for myself. You've got all these really just cool bits built into the plastic. You've got that crotch of doom, which is it is what it is. You do have hollow on the inside. Again, the hollowness, it does tend to bother people. And if you're one of those people, maybe this figure isn't perfect for you. But I really dig the way that this thing looks. Let's size compare him to some other bots. So I have him kind of hunched down a little bit. His legs are bent. And Grimlock, I've done the exact opposite. I have him standing up tall. And so they do look good together like that. Now, if I make Scorn look tall, it's still a pretty decent size. Grimlock has these kind of weird, super tall legs. So maybe not the best scenario when you put them together, but they really, I think that this just works. So now I've got them both kind of, hanging out like that. It's not really a bad look, though. I think these two do look fine. Those of you that have been following me for a while know that I'm maybe one of the few that was a big fan of Leader Class Grimlock. But after getting Grimlock in the Last Knight kind of more bland gray and silver colors, I really kind of found a new appreciation for this guy, and I do think that these two look better together than Scorn looks with the Leader Class Grimlock. Articulation is quite good. The head's on a ball joint. You don't really get a lot of up and down. You get a little bit, and then his head can go all the way around. He's got a pin in his arm right there. Pin, 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 pin. So there's a lot of movement that you can get with the arm, but it does kind of start to look funky if you don't just have it in what looks like a whip. Same thing here, and you can take these arms, you can move them down if you'd rather have them down. It really, the first time that I saw this figure and these arms were up in the air, and maybe it's coming across on my video this way too, I didn't really dig that, but in person it looks awesome. So it's one of those weird things where it might not film well or photograph well, but in person this looks good just like it is. You have a swivel right here underneath the arm. You do have the bicep hinge. The fist moves as you saw me move it earlier. There is no waist movement, I don't think. Although it looks like there might be a pin. I'm kind of afraid to try it. But let's see. I'm not getting any movement on mine, so I'm not going to swear to you that there's no movement, but I really don't want to break my figure. So I will leave it at this. It doesn't move very easily. You do have a hinge or a joint right here on the leg, and then another hinge right there. So you do get a lot of different posing that you can do without having a ball joint and the problems that come along with a ball joint. So I think this leg's going to be real nice and sturdy in time. You also get the bend at the knee, and then the foot moves from side to side, which is exactly what you want for posability. Because you just get more posability that way. Oh, before I forget, here's a size comparison between Deluxe Scorn and Voyager Scorn, and no comparison really. I think Deluxe Scorn looked pretty good in his beast mode. Robot mode kind of looked funky in here, and he had some problems, so I definitely think that, again, no real comparison for me. So in case you couldn't tell, I am indeed a big fan of this figure. I recommend that if you see him, go pick him up. I don't think you'll be disappointed. At the Voyager price point, not a bad deal at all, and you get a nice chunky Dinobot, and who doesn't like that? Thanks again for watching eBEFOREi video reviews. I appreciate each and every one of you. You can help me out by thumbing up this video if you like it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, pass the word to your friends and family, and also, if you want to find me on social media, I'm facebook.com/eBEFOREi, I'm Twitter @eBEFOREiNet, and I just look at eBEFOREi, spell the whole thing out, you'll find me all over the place, maybe even peeking into your window right now. No, that's creepy. Well, I might be, but it's still creepy, so don't, no, I'm not. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you back here again real soon.